Hotel. This is Asara Setep and Rama'at. I know that a lot of stuff that I say is really disturbing and boggling to your mind boggling, as well as heavy laden, and it does stir up a lot of animosity amongst people. I know that because it stirs up animosity in me prior to me addressing it. That's the reason why when I address it and give it back to the public, it stirs up animosity, because the animosity is already implemented. It's just that the average person is so busy in their stagnated sets of rules in their state of existence that it could be overlooked until it becomes your problem. Now see, somebody is going to have to come to the conclusion about themselves being the contributor to a problem that you see happen to someone else, and you don't feel like it's something that you should get involved with to stop from happening. Now, if you were walking down the street and you saw somebody attack a lady across the street and snatch her purse and run down the alley, even though they did not snatch your purse, but the fact that you were there and you saw them snatch someone else's purse, you would want to do the right thing to run down the alley or whatever and put yourself at injury risk, danger, and all this stuff, being late to whatever mission you was at. All that stuff would get eradicated now because you want to get involved and take opportunity at the chance of being a hero, okay, or getting the chance to beat down somebody that you see doing it wrong, and you want to use that as your advantage point to be a superhero, okay? It means you get to beat somebody down and be justified for doing it, or be in the newspaper, Good Samaritan, or get killed, suicidal. All these things is what happens when a person sees something happening to another person and wants to get involved because it's spontaneous. But see, that's the problem. What that is a reaction, okay, instead of a proaction. And that is the problem with our society. We are too reactive and not proactive enough. Now let me explain to you what I mean. If I tell you guys that homelessness is a market and that politicians make money for every person that become homeless, you won't believe me. But I'm telling you that it's true, because let me tell you why. They have a whole package of things, of do's and don'ts when dealing with the homeless. I know that from being security, working in Los Angeles, which has got one of the, I'm just as big of a homeless problem, probably, no, well, not as big as New York. I'm almost convinced that New York probably had the largest homeless problem in America. It's just that they have their subway systems, vacant subway systems, which so dangerous where people live down there. You would not believe the forgotten masses of human waste and dereliction. Never imaginable the circumstances of these people in the little cubby holes under the city, sharing dwellings with rats and feces, and you believe it. You would not believe it, where people actually have pots and cooking utensils, just want to be away from the rat race, is what they call it, when it's actually going to the rat race, but still, in comparison, without having to deal with the status quo, it's like paradise to someone who understands the advantages of staying away from politicians and courtrooms and things like that. Even if you have to give up running water and lights and theaters and grocery stores for that prestige of living, a lot of people know the rewards of that, and they do go underground and stay underground and live a short life down there and die. And then somehow their body ends up becoming meals for the many earth recipients of the human dead that is here for the sole purpose of eating the human population off of the earth. Now this is something that you guys don't believe, but I'm going to tell you that they have an actual scheme going on as to where every bed in the shelter has to have a head in it at night, so they need people to be homeless. The people who runs the shelters and own the shelters run those things just like a residential practice in a hospital would be ran. You can't get any money from the charitable donors if you don't have a need for it. So the only way to justify having a need for the charity of the donors is that you have to have a freaking manifest full of names of people that will be occupying your shelter for a whole year. And the way they do that is by make a comparison to what last year was. So now if a shelter does really well this year, and a person that owns the shelter, it's easy for him to figure out, hell, I could just keep opening shelters, and they're easy to keep up, and this and that, and woo woo, I can make, now here goes where the politicians come in and be corrupt, and give all these sorry ass shelters a chance to pop up all over in a city, and the way that makes money is they put boards up on vacant houses and leave them vacant. Okay, and then when we get all these shelters running really good, we'll take the boards on off this house. But wait a minute, we don't even have to do that, see, because we're doing good off of keeping the houses vacant, because we get tax cuts for doing that, because we could write in policies that say that no one is renting this place, and as long as no one is renting it, I don't have to pay so much tax on it this year, and at the same time, I'm still using it as equity because it is a property that I owe, so the bank will give me a loan on it. All this stuff is going on by these rich, falutin bankers, the same people who got bailed out by the United States government, billions upon millions of dollars. And then when they bailed all the bankers out, they didn't have not one penny to do anything about getting these people that I'm getting ready to show you pictures of, houses that they could move into. I can't believe that the government gave all that money to wealthy white bankers. All the bankers in this whole country all said that they didn't have sufficient funds to run their businesses, and they all was given millions upon millions of dollars to put into their own banks, and at the same time they went and threw everyone out of their houses. Well, I want you to see what became of the people that the bankers threw out of their homes as the courts passed all kind of legislation to increase crime penalties on homeless people, and at the same time the government started implementing new policies to help the merchant bankers, the richie upscale bankers got more consideration for their circumstances than the people that I'm showing you right. These people always get labeled as criminals, vagabonds, deadbeats, losers, and everything like that, when they are results of corporate America taking advantage of their power as politicians and doing things in favor of the banks who own all the houses and everything like that. So the banks is popular. The banks and the charity organizations, which is the Christians, again, the Christian churches and the bankers open up all these shelters, and they need people to live in the shelters because they say that you could live in the shelter, and the shelter claim it costs them $125 to house you that night. Okay, now if the shelter gonna get $125 to house a person at night, why don't they get $125 to a legitimate hotel and let the people live somewhere nice and decent, and then you can support the hotels? Because they know that when they give $125 a night to the shelter, all that money is not going to the recipient that gets to sleep on a freaking cot that somebody vomited on last night. Everybody in there coughing with tuberculosis. It's filthy. And this is the way they got it set up, where they make money like never before. I wanted to say these white men on this planet, but I'm not going to keep saying that, because see, that makes white people think that I'm talking about them. But we all know, if you go take a look at the United States government outside of Barack Obama, they are all white. Okay, we all know that. If you go to the House of Representatives, Congress, if you go to Capitol Hill, they're all white. And they are the ones who all make the decisions about what happened to this country. And I want to show you what a lousy job they're doing. While all these people sleep around on the curb and explain to you their circumstances, like I was explaining to you guys how me, as hardworking and outgoing as I am, and wise, okay? I mean, I'm not claiming to be the smartest, know every damn thing person there is. But I'm wise enough to know that I should be able to have me a job where I can make a good living for myself, and don't constantly have to be looking around every corner as my day to become sleeping under the bridge, that we see being the common issue of occurrences amongst the masses here in this country. And it's growing rapidly every day, especially with the universe now showing everybody how they're invited to be homeless too. It's just amazing to me how you can go and destroy a whole community of people, melanated, recessive people, and then that night they all can be put up in hotels and stuff all around the world. That you could work really fast when something like that happened to your rich communities. That night every person gets a warm hotel room and all that stuff like that. But let me show you what these people right here go through every night. I mean, it's really amazing that your house could get blown up at noontime and nighttime. You're sleeping in a hotel, nice with a teddy bear and all that shit. And look what these people have to go through forever. No one ever helps them out.
To be truthful, I've been living in this community, this marginalized community, 8 years. I have never seen this gentleman do anything. He's never come to any of the meetings, nothing. Besides collecting a fat paycheck, I really don't know what he's doing.
This is to make sure you protest peacefully and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. That's what we're not here.
No.
Make sure I play
to advance participatory democracy.
Understand. Well understood. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you need something, Police Officer Johnson. Community affairs, okay?
All right, thank you.
Absolutely. No, pleasure.
So this gentleman, Mr. Dewan, is the chairperson of the committee that has to calendar that proposal. The proposal has been languishing in his committee for 2 years, even though we have majority co-signers from the council at large. So we're here today to bring attention to Mr. Dewan. Stop holding democracy hostage. Calendar him for 48.
Understand.
As soon as he comes out and says he's going to calendar, we'll leave. Why don't you go ask me?
Where is he right now, do you think?
As of right now, I'm not even sure. I don't know if he's in office or not. We suspect he was already aware about that we was coming, so he might not be there.
And with the shelter system, the way it operates, $3,800 a month for one person in the shelter system, they could pay rent for $950 for a one-bedroom apartment, or maybe a luxury apartment for $1,150. But to pay $3,500 or close to $3,800 as of yesterday is ludicrous. And so we're out here today to say to Eric DeLon, have some heart. Think about the money that the city could save, and think about the children that's in the system and families being disrupted because of the shelter population and what is happening every day in the system.
See, that's what I said. Now they gonna lie and say they paying $3,800 a month for each person. For some people, they say a family $3,800. I'm gonna let her say it again, and I want you to let me know if it sounds like you smell a rat. This is how much money they're claiming they get. They get this money as a subsidiary kicked to them from the neighborhood to house these homeless people. Listen to the dramatic amounts they're getting for each person that they say is homeless and live in their dwelling. Then you'll see why the bankers and the realtors will create a circumstances of homelessness so they can all open a shelter and cash in on this. Now listen to it.
In the shelter system, they could pay rent for $950 for
Where is he right now, do you think?
As of right now, I'm not even sure. I don't know if he's in office or not. We suspect he was already aware about that we was coming, so he might not be there.
And with the shelter system, the way it operates, $3,800 a month for one person in the shelter system.
Did you hear what she said? She said $3,800 a month in the shelter on a one-person system, which means that if it's $3,800 a month, let's add it up. That means that there's 31 days in the month. That means that $3,100 starts off at least $100 a day. Then you got to get another $7 out of the other, excuse me,